Okay, y'all, it's another episode of Remap Your Mind, time to create a life you design. And I am super excited for my guest today. You know, I meet so many special people and make so many meaningful connections these days on social media. And I have to say, I was really resistant now. Those of you who know me know my real age. I remember back in the day when, who was that? MySpace was really popular. And I'm not sure that my guest was even born. No, I'm just kidding. When MySpace came out. No, I'm just kidding. I always talk about, age and but the real B.Russ is with me today. B.Russ, we met on YouTube and I met him. Well, how I not on YouTube, I'm sorry, on Instagram. And how
Mhm.
I met him is that I came across this brother who was spitting these rhymes, but it was like conscious. And then I saw that he was this a mental health advocate. And I thought, oh my gosh, what an amazing combination. And so I reached out to him and we've been connected. And I said, you know what, you got to come on my podcast. So I want to welcome today B.Russ. How are you today? Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing well too. As I said, the school from home thing, it's as long once we get in the flow, I'm good. So now I'm awake. I'm good. We're in the flow
I
and I'm
got you.
ready to talk. So, I really want to start out by knowing your story. I want to know how you became the real B.Russ. I want to know how you came to combine hip hop and healing, because that's really pretty cool. Ah, shoot. Okay, sorry about that. Internet glitched.
Oh, it's okay. You can.
And
I can
and
hear
so
you
what was the
now.
last thing you heard me say?
Um, I think. Yeah, I can't even remember. It kind
Oh,
of cut
okay.
off after you had introduced me.
That's okay. Let me do. Oh, okay. So let me do this. I'm going to reintroduce you. Let me pause
Okay.
though, because I'm going to check on my son because I know if the internet went out, that means his internet went out. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. No problem.
Then.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to the show, B-Russ. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Dr. Maisha. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's just really good to have you on the show. Good to be, face to face, cara a
Yeah,
cara,
to finally
say.
connect like this. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And so, I really want to start by knowing your story. Like, I want to know how you came to be the real B-Russ, how you came to this place of um, combining hip hop and healing, because I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say my journey kind of on both sides of things, like the music side and the mental health side of things, both started in high school. I started doing music really young, around like eighth grade or going into ninth grade. So just writing poetry starting out. And then that kind of turned into writing, like I guess more raps and stuff like that. And my mom actually, it was real dope because she supported me. She saw the hard work I was putting in. She actually heard some of my music. So she actually invested and bought me some equipment. So I was able to, yeah, like record myself in high school and make, CDs and like pass them out or sell them around school and
Nice.
things like that. So I've been writing and doing music for a really long time. That just kind of turned into setting it aside for some time because I went away to school and, I really wasn't that active as far as my music is concerned in college. But after I graduated and moved down here to Atlanta from Virginia, I just linked with the right people that really believed in my music and were kind of like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, you need to be out here taking this a lot more serious. So I had some good people to really take me under their wings. And, I've been just taking it as serious as I can over the last, like, probably like 3 years or something like that. So, on the music side of things, that's kind of how things have developed. And alongside of that, on the mental health side of things, um, I first started experiencing some mental health challenges in high school. It was really more anxiety and things like that that I was experiencing. So I went away to college, and they just continued into my adult life, and then I feel like they kind of heightened when I moved down here to Atlanta, and so since then I've really just been working to work on my mental health and things like that. And whether it be therapy, whether it be medication some of the times, whether it be just self-learning some different things. I just try to feed myself as much fuel as possible to get me through. And so I have a personal connection to mental health in that way, and that's why I try my best to make content and normalize it for everybody, but especially for Black men, because that's been like a tough part about this journey, is feeling alienated or feeling alone in some ways. Because when I start speaking on the rap side of things, it's like everybody's like, "Oh, thank you, B." Like everyone's
Hmm.
at least at one point seemed to be a lot more excited about that, and then when I
Yeah.
start talking about the mental health, it gets weird some of the times.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing how that is such a stigma in our community, and especially amongst our men. Um,
Mhm.
it's an interesting thing to that for me to watch. Being in I'm a X Gen, and seeing mental health in our generation and my mom's generation, and how it's treated, how it's regarded. And one of the things that I've seen is in the generation behind me, especially in our men, you guys are paying more attention to mental health, and I think that's just really amazing. And I think it's creative. It's like innovative is the word I really want to use to see. First of all, let me just say your observations are stellar, because to see that, okay, well, when I'm doing my rap, then everybody's like, "Yay!" But then when I talk about mental health, then people are kind of like side eye, you know.
Mhm.
But then to see that and be like, well, how about if I marry the two together? Then
Mhm.
it just becomes embedded messaging. You know what I mean?
Right.
It becomes an embedded messaging, and you can actually. This is what I love about it, because I'm a geek about the unconscious mind. You follow me, you know this about
Mhm.
me. You begin to hit people at the unconscious level through different mediums, through
Mhm.
music medium,
Mhm.
and so then it gets deeper in their awareness and raises their awareness in a different kind of way.
Right.
And so I think that's genius.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've been doing some of this content related to mental health, and really, I kind of started doing the music content around the same time, but like over the last
Mhm.
2.5 or 3 years, and I think it just took people a while to warm up to it. Because when I first started doing it, it was a huge like gap between like people will always respond or comment on the music stuff, but then the mental health posts would be a little bit different. But now I can see where like that's starting to rise too. So I think it's just one of those things. Like it takes time to for people to even become comfortable, because it's one of those things, like you bring it up in a room and people might be uncomfortable and might not want to talk about it, but then they might come back tomorrow or the next week and be in that same room and someone bring it up and they're like, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable, until that next time comes. And then, it's brought up and they feel, like, I can actually talk about this. I can comment on this because I'm not as uncomfortable anymore. So I'm just, my whole goal is really to normalize it as much as possible. I don't know everything. I don't, I'm not, uh, the mental health expert necessarily, but I do believe in just sharing my own journey with people, and hopefully that'll be enough to at least inspire people to want to take some type of action.
Yeah. Well, so talk to me about just like the sources of anxiety for you as a Black man growing up. Like in that you said you dealt with it from high school. What were those, if you could say, what were those sources of anxiety for you?
um I think they were different. Some of them had to do with some family dynamics. Some of them had to do with honestly, the area I was raised in. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. It
Hmm.
wasn't
Hmm.
I moved around in Richmond, so I wasn't just in one place, but in certain areas, it's it can be dangerous. You just had to stay on your toes, when it comes to certain things. And I think recognizing that as a young or at a young age and having a mom that's in my ear also about, you know, um, you're black, you gotta be uh, twice as better when it comes to doing certain things, or you have to be careful when you go out and deal with police. A lot of different things that I'm sure a lot of black boys or black children in general just get briefed on a whole lot and maybe experience. I think those were some of it, and then some of it too was just I was naturally like a pretty shy kid, so I had a lot of anxiety as it related to like social situations and just wishing I was that social butterfly and could go out and run my mouth with everybody, but I wasn't really like that. And so I used to feel weird some of the times in like social situations, so that was like some of the anxiety as well. But those issues that I named at first, I feel like are very unique to the black experience, because if you tell a 15 or 16-year-old that when you're out, if police ask you to do something, you be polite, you do this, you make sure you don't move, all of us, like that's a whole lot for anybody to have to process, but especially a 15 or 16-year-old. So
Right.
I think those are some of the things that were kind of that provoked some of my anxiety when I was in high school.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, even so there's like the we could break it down like there's the black male experience growing up, and then there's black female experience growing up, right? And I think that it's important to not lump us all into um, one basket, because I believe that you all have a very unique and different experience growing up as black men, as black boys, than we as black women.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think it's why it takes a little bit different of approach, right? And also the dynamics, the dynamics of the patriarchy give you that you're supposed to be a particular way as a man too. So then there's that as
Hmm.
well that's put
Hmm.
on you, right? And then there's all the internalized systemic racism and trauma that has either been experienced personally or passed down from the family,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then so this is what you come with, and then you're raised in Virginia, of all places. I was raised in Huntsville, Alabama, and
Okay.
while it's interesting because I Huntsville has like the Space and Rocket Center, it has like the Redstone Arsenal. So while there's definitely the the country white folks there,
Mhm.
um, that it wasn't as overt. Like I didn't experience it as a child as overtly,
Mhm.
and until I didn't experience. I didn't have my first experience of overt racism until I moved to Atlanta and I was at
Wow.
Emory University.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but what I was aware of is that we lived one town over from the KKK,
Mm.
Coleman, Alabama. So I was very aware of that. And so
Mhm.
when we drove through certain places, that anxiety was highest, was heightened. When you drove outside of Huntsville or through certain places, maybe to go to Birmingham or to go to another major city,
Right.
there was an awareness that, oh, okay, well, we got to be careful. There's, we can't be, if we stop for gas, we just got to be quiet in the car. My mom's doing what she's
Mhm.
doing quickly and trying to get on with it. We get stopped by the cops
Mhm.
and we're just like, a little bit anxious, like that kind of thing. So it's just interesting
Right.
the additional unconscious stuff that gets put on us. But then as a boy, and I'm raising a son, so I'm particularly interested in this, right? I'm particularly vigilant about listening to
Mhm.
you all's experience. My son is 6, and it won't be long, and his daddy is tall, so it won't be long before he won't be looked at as a kid anymore, with
Right.
everything going on.
Yeah.
So, I think it's important to understand y'all have such a different experience than we do.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things, I don't even think I understood really until I became an adult. like how those experiences actually affected me. Because looking back on it,
Mhm.
I kind of remember, it did make me anxious, but I just kind of just accepted it, or tried to. But
Mm.
now I really can see how it just set the tone for, certain things. Like even now to this day, a police car could pull behind me while I'm driving, and I could be completely in the right, like nothing illegal going on, like everything is completely fine. I'm not even speeding or anything, but literally just the sight of a police car behind me makes me nervous. And that's because I've been like in a way like programmed like that
Yes,
since I was younger to fear police, and coming from an area where police were not um really cared for that much. It's just it's weird. So I think like one of the biggest things that helped me through all of it though was my mom did make me proud to be black. So
yes,
I never took that information and became like ashamed to be black, or like why am I
right.
black, that type of thing. I just it almost fed even more into me feeling empowered, because it's like, like this is just a special thing that we have to deal with, but it's just made us stronger. And you know so I think that's something that helped me a whole lot, just still having pride in being black and not letting that be broken throughout all of that.
I love the way you said that. I mean, like, this is it also even though even though it's a negative, that the experience with the police officer pulling up behind you, like that's a negative anchor. That's automatic right there, programming. But there's
Hmm.
something in your experience, and I think, and I love it, that your mother, and this is the way I am with Delson, just making sure that he knows that his brown skin is beautiful, and that he can, and all of the things that our culture and our ancestors have brought to for us to be where we are, right?
Hmm.
And contributed, you know, both epigenetically, like intellectually and culturally speaking, from an artist standpoint, inventor standpoint, like all of that, all of it, right? All of the things. But how you are empowered to be black, and how this is it almost is a, and when I look at it, I look at how much our culture has suffered and how we keep standing up. It is almost empowering. I
Hmm.
mean, it's sad that we keep getting knocked down, and it's frustrating, but I don't know of any other culture that keeps getting up like us, right? And so, in a way
Mm-mm.
that can be empowering, because we can know our own internal strength, no matter what happens. No matter what happens, we can know our internal strength,
Exactly.
and so that's what I love.
I agree. Me too. Me too. It's I think I had a turning point in high school, even with, this kind of gets back into the music, but where probably like ninth and 10th grade, I was more on the like mainstream, like everything was mainstream basically. I did have
Hmm.
some music that I liked, just as far as oldies and things like that, but I was really heavy into just mainstream music that was on the radio. But then I started getting into like 10th grade, going further into 11th grade. And that's when I was introduced more to like conscious hip hop, as people would call it, like
Yeah.
Nas and like Common and Talib Kweli and people like that. And
Hmm.
getting back to just how even music can really be transformative for some people. Um, I just would hear them talk about certain things, and the way that they would tell their stories was like amazing to me. So that's kind of when my style of music that I was even making changed. And
Mm.
from that point on is when, like every song I make isn't necessarily about blackness or, whatever, but it's just I feel
Right.
like I'm always dropping like little like seeds here or there. So like the whole song might
Yeah.
not be about something, but I try to find ways to, to sneak it in there somewhere. And
Yeah.
things like that.
Embed those messages, bruh. And
Yeah.
embed those messages, right? I mean, because it really, that's what it is. And because when we are listening to music, let me get a little meta real quick. When we're listening to music, um, we are focused on whatever the, parts of the music that we're focused on. So in essence, when we get into we're listening to music, we're in a light state of trance, and it
Mhm.
allows our mind to relax a little bit so that we can, really accept the messaging that's coming through the music. Now, that for some people may sound a little scary, but and it's a reason why you want to like be very mindful of what you're listening to, what you're looking at on TV, what you're listening to. But from the standpoint of an artist like yourself, if you're wanting to get an empowering message around mental health, and as a listener, if I know like I want to be impacted positively, then I'm going to look for a musician or an artist that I know is conscious, that I know is that's positive and empowering, because in that
Right.
way you're impacting me at a deeper level. You're impacting me at the, like at a deeper soul spirit level. So you may
Right.
not even see it like that, but like when or you may not realize it, but now you do, right? When you
Right. Thank
say
you.
you're trying to sneak it in the message, that's it. What you're doing is you really are. You're sneaking that message into that positive, empowering message into the unconscious mind to empower your people around, normalizing this so that people don't feel isolated, people don't feel ashamed. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So
Mhm.
there's something that you said that I got to ask you about earlier,
Mhm.
and you were talking about, some of the anxiety came from um,
Mhm.
feeling you languages like weirdness, right? Feeling like there was that
Mhm.
you were feeling maybe like awkward is the word,
Mhm. Right.
and, so I was thinking about that as you were talking, and I thought um, I think in these times, as especially as young people like try to fit in, it's important for us to empower our young people to embrace their awkward, embrace their different,
Mhm.
because the society says you should look like this, the society says you should act like this, the society says you should talk like this, or you should socialize like this.
Right.
And you know each person processes things differently, processes information and their surroundings differently, and should be honored by that,
Right.
and should be made to be able to be, how's the word? Like really just not only in acceptance, but like in celebration
Mhm.
of their whatever there is. The
Right.
awkward, people say awkward like it's a bad thing, but I love awkward. I love anything that's different,
Mhm.
because it's
Yeah.
unique.
Mhm. I think I do now. I think like that's the biggest thing I probably would tell somebody that's dealing with that as, at a young age now is, you know, you may not realize it now, but the very things that you find about you that are awkward are actually probably some of your biggest strengths, or are probably going to grow into some of your biggest strengths, because at the time I didn't know what an introvert or an extrovert or any of like the only word I knew really was shy. That's really it. So
Mhm,
now growing into an adult and actually learning that yeah, I can still be shy, but I mean at the core, like I'm really an introvert, and learning more about introverts and some of the positive qualities about them has made me be like, you know what, this is actually like cool. I'm proud. But if you would have asked me this at 15 or 16, I couldn't see that it was a strength. I saw it as a deficit, if that makes
mhm.
sense. So I think
Yeah.
it's like just trying to, instill in young folks that are, younger children or people growing up that, just try your hardest to, embrace it. Cause I guarantee it's gonna pay off for you in your adult life. Cause, I'm glad that I've embraced being quiet some of the times now, because it's made me a much more observant person. So like some of the work that I
Mhm,
do is a lot, it's detail oriented, because I like to sit back and watch a lot of the times. But before,
mhm.
I used to wonder like, hey, how come I can't be the first one to answer? How come I can't be, so I was just learning to take pride in it.
That's awesome. That is so super awesome. Um, well, you know what? I I have so many more questions and so little time. So you know you're gonna have to come on because I have like all these other questions. This has been such a great conversation, and I literally I have so many more questions. So would you be willing to be a recurring guest on my show? Ooh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, I think you're back. Are you back? You froze up for me for a second. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you? Yeah,
Oh,
I can
okay,
hear you.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Internet do a thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
so would you
Can
be
you
willing to be
can you
like
hear
a
me?
recurring guest? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I would love to. Yes.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yay!
I
Awesome,
love
awesome,
it
awesome.
because you know, but I love, like you said, the conversational part about it. It felt like I feel like I could keep talking too. I really would if I had the time to, but I would love to come back on and talk some more. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk. We'll definitely. So I'll send you an IG, and we will figure out a time to get you back on because this conversation must continue. I love this conversation. So
Yes.
before we go, I want you to tell the people how they can get your music, where they can follow you on social media, and how we can keep up with what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as far as the music is concerned, you really can find my music on all the digital streaming platforms. So, like Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Google Play, Amazon, all of those things. If you're not subscribed to any of those, then you can find it on SoundCloud as well. That's a free way to listen to it. Also, I believe YouTube as well. So, you can just YouTube B.Russ. Um, and then as far as social media, the real B.Russ, just the real B.Russ. You can find me on social media that way. I'm primarily on Instagram. I don't really use Twitter or Facebook. I've kind of built my platform on Instagram. So please feel free to come through, add to the conversations I'm having. Stop by, say hey. I'm a person, so I'm human. I'm cool. So reach out, say what's up sometime, and yeah, I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here too, Dr. Maisha.
Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, being in the conversation with me. So we will schedule part two, and most likely you might be coming on like multiple times because
Oh, that's
there
cool.
are some conversations I feel like that we need to have between Black men and Black women that we need that both of those perspectives. So I'm looking forward to having you on again for sure. All right now, y'all. So you heard him, the real B.Russ. You go
Hmm.
check him out at the real B.Russ on Instagram. Go check out his music. You can find it on all of the streaming platforms. Purchase his music. Don't be going to listen to it for free. I'm a proponent
Absolutely. And
of
I'm gonna keep you up to date.
financial support. Yeah. Go ahead. You said you're gonna keep us up to date. Oh boy. Very good. So now, um, all right, all right. So if you want to know how to remap your mind, go ahead and go to remapmymind.com. If and there you will see how you can join any one of our upcoming trainings in neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy. And also, if you want to do a little bit more of that deep personal work, you can reach out to me directly by going to remapmymind.today. But go check out B.Russ and support his platform, support his music, and we look forward to having him on in the future. All right. So you guys have a wonderful rest of the day. and a wonderful rest of the week. And we'll see you on the next one. Namaste.
See y'all.